Is the left as bad about socialism as the right is about capitalism? That is today's topic. What am I talking about? Socialism in its extreme is not good. Capitalism in its extreme, not good. People on the right don't seem to have any concept about extreme capitalism. They're only looking over at socialism. It's the devil, blah, 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 right? Their backs are turned to capitalism, right? There's an assumption about how good capitalism is, how much better it is than socialism, right? So since you make that assumption, you turn your back on it. You're not going to examine it. You're not going to interrogate it. You're not going to be very well informed about some of the dangers of capitalism, because your undivided attention is on socialism bad, right? Socialism bad, we can't go socialism, welfare state, government handouts, blah, 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 right? Very tuned in with that, not so much on what's happening behind your back with capitalism, right? So you imagine you could have two people who've had some questionable interactions with, let's say, young girls, right? Nothing definitive, but they're both a little suspect, right? But for some reason, the guy with the mohawk, right? Everybody wears that anymore. Or some crazy hairdo. I mean, he's got tattoos all over his face. You're just so preoccupied. This guy's sick. He's disgusting. He's a pedophile. Keep him away from the kids. And you're watching every move. So you're well aware of everything that he does, right? Yesterday, I saw him walking with Sally's daughter, and he was smiling at her in a way that was suggestive, right? You know everything about the guy with the tattoos. The other guy, you always have your back turned because you're looking at the tattoo guy. Tattoo guy's over here. So what's the other guy doing? Lester the molester. What's he doing? You don't know anything about Lester because you're so focused on Mr. Tattoo Guy, right? So Lester the molester is doing all kinds of sick and disgusting things, and he's not that far from you. If you'd only turn around and see what he's doing, you would be like, holy shit, this guy is awful. But you don't know nothing about him because, again, preoccupied with the tattoo guy, right? So in that analogy, that is capitalism for many people on the right, right? They don't see Lester the molester, which is capitalism, because they're so busy focused on tattoo guy, Mr. Socialist, right? He just looks creepy, right? I'm not trying to like straw man their argument and suggest that they think, you know, they don't have any valid concerns about socialism. And in fact, because they're so focused on socialism, they're the ones who are more likely to have, you know, the most valid critiques of socialism, right? Because in reverse, in my view, the left has their back turned, right, on Lester the molester. Who's Lester the molester for the left? Lester the molester for the left is socialism, right? They're also focused on capitalism evil, capitalism bad. Capitalism is so sick and disgusting, it's immoral and it's ruining this country, and they've bought our politicians, and it's all about profits, everything's profit, profit, profit. Oh, capitalism bad, right? Does this sound similar to the arguments we hear coming from the right about socialism bad? right? The left, so focused on the tattoo guy, right? The guy with the tattoos all over his face, called capitalism, right? The left is looking at him, every move he makes, everywhere he's going. Look at the shoes, those are the same shoes in the photo from the incident last week, right? So focused on the tattoo guy and making assumptions about how good Lester is. Lester is cool, Lester's cool, man. Lester's a good guy, he's a little nerd, you know, he's kind of nerdy, but he's a good guy, he's got a good heart. How do you know how good Lester is if all you're doing is looking at Mr. Tattoo Guy, right? Every day, you're focused on the tattoo guy because he just looks creepy, right? Capitalism looks creepy. So let me focus on capitalism and turn my back on Lester the molester, so I'm not even aware of what he's doing, right? Now there's some buffoons that might look at this as a both sides argument, whatever that means. I mean, if the left and the right are basically behaving in a similar way, I mean, me pointing that out is simply being factual, right? If that is incorrect, if that is correct, right? Freudian slip. And I would challenge anyone to challenge my argument so this is how you challenge my argument, right? In the description below, point me to links about any discussion about the problems of socialism being discussed by any left-wing influencers. That's how you prove me wrong, right? If I'm correct and their back is turned, they're not going to be having a discussion, because how are you going to discuss something that's behind your back? You're not looking at it, you're looking at something else. If they're only looking at capitalism, right, in a critical manner, there is going to be a discussion about Lester the molester, right? But if I'm wrong, then you'll be able to point me links to left-wing people talking critically about socialism and problems with socialism, right? Who'll be brave enough to do that without, you know, concern for being accused of being a right-winger, right? We'll see what the priority is. If the priority is to be speaking the truth, or if the priority is to look good and fit in and be part of the clan, right? If my arguments are incorrect, I want you guys on the right to point me to conversations, videos, posts, whatever, of right-wingers speaking critically about, and that's the focus of the video. Now we can find tons of videos of the right, you know, talking critically about socialism, many videos of the left talking critically about capitalism, but why can't we find the reverse? Why is the left not spending more time focused on the critical parts of socialism? Some might ask, why would they need to? Folks on the right would make the same argument, right? Capitalism has brought more people out of poverty than any other system, and capitalism is the reason why this, look at the shirt that you wear and the phone that you have, that's capitalism, right? We don't need to look into capitalism, we need to look at socialism. Socialism is the thing that's bad, that's the one that's causing harm and this and that, and countries that are failing. Again, my argument is that each side has their back turned to their favored economic system, right? There are assumptions made about how it's superior, right? And there's a preoccupation with the alternative. They know everything about how bad it is, the alternative is, but they don't know so much about the issues with the system that they prefer, right? The reality is, and this is why we have a government that is hybrid, right? Part socialist and part capitalist. Although, because of ideology and tribe wars, many won't want to admit this reality. But we do have components of socialism and elements of capitalism in our government, right? The reality is, capitalism is not perfect. It has problems. It has advantages. Socialism is not perfect. It has advantages and it has issues, right? If the goal is to seek the best possible system, then you wouldn't want to be all in on socialism or all in on capitalism, right? I know people are on different parts of the spectrum. There's some people who, democratic, socialists, whatever, who, they support some level of capitalism, but bigger social safety nets or whatever. But even those people, again, almost none of them spend any significant time critiquing their favorite system, right? Everybody always wants to critique, the other side, right? Critique their ideology, critique the financial, systems that they support. No one wants to spend any time critiquing their own side, right? Again, capitalism in its extreme is problematic. Socialism in its extreme is problematic. Anyone who is fact-based or truth-based, right? Not centrist. It's not about being centrist, because if you do a reality-based assessment of these two systems, you might find that the ultimate system is 80% socialism, 20% capitalism. That ain't centrist, right? That's leaning heavy on the left, right? Or you may find a system that's 80% capitalism and 20% socialism might be the most ideal. Again, that's not centrist, right? I would think a centrist view would be in the middle, right? Half socialism, half capitalism, right? It's good in both sides, right? That's not my goal. That's not what I'm trying to promote, right? You can heavily lean on one side or the other, but the distinction here is, rather than being this binary, black or white, hot or cold, up or down, socialism is great, capitalism is bad, or capitalism is great, socialism is bad, right? My thing is, honestly and accurately look at socialism. Identify, holy smokes, let's put the parking brake on. Identify identify the pros of socialism and the cons of socialism. Make an assessment of socialism based on that, right? Don't promote or get focused on socialism at all, perhaps. Focus on the concepts within socialism that you feel are positive, right? So it's not about socialism. It's about effective ways of governing, right? You do that, and now you have rather than a socialism assessment, you have a tactic assessment. We like healthcare being free. We like colleges being free, or whatever it is that you like, right? Extract from socialism what works, remove what does not, right? Let's say to the extreme level, we equalize pay 100%, so everyone makes the same salary. That's a little more extreme. And you say, okay, that hurts incentives. That's too far. I don't like that. But you don't necessarily dismiss that, though, because you could say, I don't like the extreme version of that, but I would like something much more moderate in terms of from that thing. So everyone doesn't make the same pay, but the differential between the lowest pay and the highest pay, you could compress it, right? So just for example, let's say you believe in a society where in New York, you know, the bottom of the pay scale is somewhere around, let's say, $70,000 a year, right? And the top of the pay scale is around $300,000 a year, right? So that's a much smaller range than what we currently have, but it's still a significant range. So in terms of incentives, you know, if I just work at a Walmart, I'm making 70 grand in New York, right? That's enough money to pay my bills, to be comfortable. I don't need to work multiple jobs, right? But if I want a fancy car, right? I want to do more vacations, you know, I want a bigger house, you know, I'm going to have to get a job that pays more, right? So I can get up to a 90,000 job, 100,000 job, 180,000 job, right? You can get to that point. Now you got a nice car, nice house, live in a nice area, you do nice vacations, and you want more. I want a Lamborghini or something, right? And you can go up to $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year, right? At the very, very top, you can get $300,000 a year. So you have some incentive structure in terms of compensation, not a flat play, not a flat pay, but you've compressed it to where you don't have, you know, such a massive range. Someone's making 20 grand a year and the next person's making like 10 million a year, right? So you can take things from socialism that you like, right? You can tweak other things, right? Or figure out how extreme of a version of this thing that you want, and you extract all these things. So you're not really, oh, I'm socialism or I'm capitalism. I'm ideas. These are ideas that I think work and I think are most effective and most beneficial to society, right? Then you go to capitalism and you do the same thing. What's the positive about capitalism? What's the negative about capitalism, right? The stuff that's positive, you say, this is a great tactic. This is a great tactic. Like, I like these ideas from capitalism, right? You modify them as necessary. You know, it's great. This is great about capitalism, but it needs to be more regulated because unregulated, it leads to X, right? And that's, to me, how you come up with a system that works. But I feel like no one's doing that. No one is looking at the positives of capitalism and the negatives, positives of socialism and the negatives, and extracting from that all the good from all of them, right? And then leaning in that direction. Instead, because of tribalism, you know, if you're on the left, you're supposed to hate capitalism. So you don't want to talk about anything positive about capitalism. It's evil, it's bad. And this is what you're getting from the thought leaders, right? So you have an audience who's watching these progressive channels, who's looking to them for ideas and understanding. And if all they're hearing these influencers say is capitalism bad, capitalism bad, capitalism bad, what level of sophistication can we expect from the audience with a very unsophisticated rhetoric coming from the influencers? Capitalism bad. On the right, what level of sophistication can we expect from their audience when they are, you know, listening to people who are just telling them that, one second, they're listening to people that are just telling them that, you know, socialism is bad, socialism bad, socialism bad, socialism bad, socialism bad. What are you going to get a more sophisticated view than that from the audience? So you have one audience that's just brainwashed. Capitalism is evil, capitalism bad, right? That's all they know. They can tell you all the good things about socialism, none of the negatives, because they're not being taught about those things. You go to a right-wing audience, they can tell you all the great things about capitalism. They can't, and all the negative things about socialism. They can't tell you anything good about socialism, right? And they don't know much about what the problems are with capitalism, right? That's the extremist way that we do things in this country. Left, right, black, white, up, down, binary, Democrat, Republican, the left, the right. How can we move this country to a more reality-based ideology rather than an emotional-based, rather than a tribal-based? Well, I'm doing my part here on my tiny little channel that will always be tiny because I give a middle finger to the algorithm, right? I refuse to be controlled by some software, right? These influencers on social media who do this for a living, they choose money over doing the right thing, right? But I don't do this for a living, so it's much easier for me to be authentic. Sorte Snog. You see, this is another example of how this platform sucks. Right now it says no one's watching this. No likes, no viewers. And yet somehow Sorte Snog is in my comment section chatting something. How's that possible? YouTube, right? That's why I give a middle finger to YouTube. I'm glad that they exist. I'm able to do what little, crumbs I can do on this platform. Crumbs based on the lack of reach, because I just refuse. I'm sorry, man. I'm not gonna go follow trends and do whatever is getting the most views. Sorry. Skynet, screw you. Not interested. Not interested, man. I'll be back. No. Sorry, guy. I live in the social democratic state of Denmark. We have universal health care, semi-pay and dental and glasses, prepaid education to uni-level students are even paid a small, I think, allowance to study. Elderly lifetime pension, small one, for everyone regardless of the other arrangements. Prepaid childcare for low income. Yeah, that's all satanic, man. That is all satanic. Everything you just said is satanic. It's government handouts, it's entitlements, and it's reckless spending. Right? The government is gonna make people lazy. All this. I was talking to my conservative friend, and man, says to me that he heard that there's places where you can get like $100,000. I don't know what the wording is, like in government entitlements or something. The impression I got is he's talking about, benefits, like you're getting some kind of social security check or something. You're getting your rent's paid for, your this is paid for. You're getting some kind of whatever it is. You're getting money from the government, right? As social programs. And he suggested that there are people getting $100,000 in this country right now just through social programs. I really doubt that. I didn't challenge the statement, but I really doubt that. The first thing that comes to mind is something he heard on Fox News. Sounds exactly like the kind of fear-mongering you hear on Fox News. Just pushing up this government entitlements. Like I keep telling people, it's not about what they say, it's about what they don't say, right? There's all this talk about, like a Fox News talking about entitlements and handouts and this and that and reckless spending with these entitlement programs. Okay, great. We know how you feel about that stuff. Now let's talk about the stuff that you're not talking about. While you're distracting us with this stuff, which is getting you views, what are you not talking about, and why aren't you talking about it? Pose the same question to progressive media, liberal media. Right? While they're fear-mongering us about how bad capitalism is, talk to them about what they're not talking to us about. Capitalism and socialism both have problems. No system is perfect. Anyone who is looking at a system only in terms of the positives, right, and looking at the alternative only in terms of negative, you're not making, that's not a reality-based thought process, right? That's an emotional or tribal-based thought process, right? You're focused on what your tribe supports, and you're ignoring a whole other half of the story. Again, in short, I say extract from the capitalism what's good, remove what's bad, or reduce what's bad. You don't have to remove it. Some things could be too much of it, right? Like, for example, compensation. The fact that, I can make $10 million a year, maybe limited to $5 million a year. So you're still allowing this crazy compensation for people at the top, but you're reducing it. So again, remove or reduce what's not good, right? Enhance or retain the things that are good. And take the same approach to both systems, rather than this ideological, like, this is bad, this is good. No. It's not this is bad, that's a very juvenile way to look at things. That's not the way life is, man. There's gradients, there's levels, right? There is nuance, right? Like, I look at a car, a typical Mercedes Benz. A lot of good things to say about it: performance, luxury, right? But it's not all positive, right? The cost of maintenance, horrible. I would say more in the past, reliability, because of all that performance comes at a price of all the complex components that make up that Mercedes, right? But if we just take a pro, like, I'm a Benz guy, like, Benz is great, yeah. Toyota is garbage, Benz is great, right? You take that attitude, then all you know about is all the bullet points that would be good for a sales team for Mercedes, right? You don't really know about issues with the brand, right? And then the alternative, Toyota, all the problems with Toyota. Oh, they're slow and this and that, and the workmanship is whatever. Okay, good. Those may be valid concerns, but again, you're all in. I'm a Benz guy, or I'm a Toyota guy. I'm a Ford guy. I'm a Chevy guy. Right? The Chevy guy knows all the great things about Chevy, not so much about the bad things. And it's not just that doesn't know the bad things, don't want to even accept the bad things. And I think what happened with socialism versus capitalism, right? The guy who's the Chevy guy, even if he is aware of potential issues with Chevy, will he accept them or will he deny them, right? So you say one thing about Chevy is a lot of Chevys have engine problems. And like, no, I had a Chevy 100,000 miles and I never had an engine problem. All I do is change the oil and it's good. The people that have those issues, they're driving it wrong, or they're doing the wrong oil type, or right? Is that the approach that is taken with capitalism versus socialism? So if I go when I critique socialism to someone on the left, are they going to accept anything that might be actually genuine? Or is it automatically going to be this defensive, like, oh, well, it's better than, capitalism, or whatever. Like, I don't know, man. We got to get out of the tribes. We got to be able to think for ourselves. We got to ignore what our tribe is saying and come to our own conclusions. But I know there's a problem with that. In order to come to these conclusions, it requires time. You got to sit down and do your own analysis, do your own research. Who has time for that, right? So what do people do? They do the lazy thing, not necessarily lazy, but the most efficient thing. Most efficient thing is to find a thought leader who, this is what they get paid to do, right? They can spend all day coming up with ideas and researching things and looking at stuff, right? That's their whole life. And then you lean on their shoulders, right? So these are the thought leaders, and they tell you how to think. They come to you and say, capitalism bad, capitalism bad, capitalism bad. And then when someone talks to you about the positive of capitalism, you don't even have your own viewpoint. You think you do, right? Because you've adopted the ideas of these thought leaders as your own. So you just start spitting out the stuff that they've said. Well, the problem with capitalism is blah, 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 right? Same thing on the right. Right? Who on the right has time to evaluate socialism? What are the positives? What are the negatives? What's the history? What's the truth of this? People are busy living their lives. So what do? They turn to thought leader. They turn on Fox News, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder. And what do they gather from that? So they're saving the time of doing the research. They rely on these clowns. And what do these clowns say to them every single day? Socialism bad, socialism bad, socialism bad. Capitalism has brought more people out of poverty than any other system, blah, 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 right? All the talking points. So when you engage with a person like this, they have no idea about socialism versus capitalism. All they are is being a parrot. The stuff, they've listened to it so much time, it's absorbed into their brain that they think it's their own ideas. So when you challenge them, they're just basically, it's like a parrot. Polly wants a cracker, Polly wants a cracker, Polly wants a cracker, right? And if you go and you talk to them and you challenge them on this, they're not gonna, no, it's not, I'm not just repeating what Ben Shapiro said. This is my own idea, right? I've actually looked into this. Really? I don't think so. On the other hand, we pay a good tax. But we don't have any ultra rich, and there is a lot of compromise. Little typo there. All right, Snog. Mr. Stay-at-home dragon. You see? Entitlement programs. Look at this guy. He's a stay-at-home dragon. Instead of going out and working a real job, right? Going and you know, I don't know, pick some apples, right? I can't even think of like some labor job. I'm looking for some labor jobs. I can't even think of some. I'm gonna make up some fake. Walk the horses, right? Instead of going out there and bathing the horses or cleaning the hay, right? Picking the corn and then taking the this guy, he's a stay-at-home dragon, right? Every day, all day. What's he doing? Sitting at home, waiting for his government handouts. I give up. I work 42 hours a week. I sell bikes and repair them. He claims that he sells bikes and repairs them, but does he really? Or is he just sitting at home waiting for a government check to come in? This is the problem with socialism. Stay-at-home dragon. Imagine a whole country filled with stay-at-home dragons who are home all day waiting for checks to come in, and then when you ask them, they claim that they're repairing bikes, right? It's 8 in the morning, they're on Facebook looking for likes. Hey man, what are you doing? Oh, I'm repairing bikes. Meanwhile, they're on Facebook. 12 p.m. What are they doing? Still on Facebook. Yet claim that they are repairing bikes. That's what they put on the paperwork, but in reality, they are at home doing nothing, waiting for the government checks to come in. And that is the danger of socialism. The unemployment is really stressful to be on, I tell you. The unemployment is really stressful to be on. Look, man, you're preaching to the choir. Look at all the stress that I went through with this process of buying this home. And one of the key goals, it wasn't specifically that, but that's touching on the fundamental reason, is unemployment. You know, I'm getting older, and you know, the idea of me being 47 years old, losing my job, and then watching my whatever little savings I have just dwindle. And think about that. I'm a high income earner who lives most of my life very frugally, right? I have clothes that are 10 years old, 15 years old. I don't care about name brands. I don't think I've ever bought a brand new vehicle, although I could easily afford one. I buy used to save money, right? I haven't had cable since like 2005 or something like that. I hate bills. I hate like anything I have to pay every month. So I cut that cord a long time ago. So someone who lives frugally like me, saves aggressively, makes a ton of money, never really have been able to hold on to cash for very long, right? Because even someone like me, highly skilled, great resume, capable of a lot, industry can turn like that on a dime. You lose your job and then you can't find another one, and all your worth is in your professional career. So if you can't find that profession, like if you're a lawyer and you can't find, I don't think that'll happen, but if you're a lawyer, you can't find a gig being a lawyer, right? That's lawyer, you make $200,000 a year. But if you're out of work and you can't find a lawyer job, it's not even like, okay, well, instead of 200,000, I'm gonna make $180,000 doing like a normal. No, if you can't find a professional job, you go straight to the bottom. I went from 6 figures to selling mops. That is America, and it's not about selling mops. It's about the money I made selling mops, right? So let's be clear. It's more so the money I made. If I made a decent amount of money, not a ton of money, but let's just say enough to survive on, then it's like, okay, I'm selling mops, but you know, I'm able to survive. But the thing is, selling mops that's not what it meant. Selling mops meant wondering which bill I'm going to pay, which bill I'm not going to pay, dodging collection agencies, and watching your credit just go, you know, off a cliff, right? But if someone who has been a high income earner for most of my life at this point, you know, significantly north of 6 figures, well, not north of, but north of 100,000, let's say. If I can't even not worry about losing my job and running out of money, and again, frugal guy, right? Now, people would say my Corvette is not frugal, but I got it used. It's a 2004, right? I could have bought a 2022, the latest one. I could have gotten that. Instead, I got a 2004. It's still not cheap, you know, even at that time, but relative to my income, relative to my savings, that's frugal for me, right? Because it's a non-issue. It doesn't affect me in any way. So the point is, it's not about how much money I'm spending. It's about relative to my income, right? Because there's people who make a lot of income, but they also spend a lot of money, right? So it's like, I have this big $150,000 a year, so I gotta drive a $150,000 car. I gotta live in a $150,000 house. No, I don't. I live significantly under my means. But if someone like me in this country can be multiple times in my life wondering about how am I gonna pay the rent, how am I gonna pay my bills, what does that mean for somebody making 60 grand, 70 grand, 80 grand, 90 grand? With kids and a wife, right? I think that's a sad state of affairs. That somebody that works as hard as I do and is as capable as I am, all the skills that I have, because I'm just like how you said, I bought the house and I'm learning how to do plumbing, I'm learning how to do electrical, I'm doing painting. Right now I'm about to do my trim work. I'm refinishing my trim before I paint it. Like, nobody's playing around here, right? I got my spackling for my taping, and also repairing like the walls and stuff like that. And I got these to do the trim. I spent 2 hours yesterday working on the trim, cleaning it up, degreasing. I had the putty knife. Man, right? So just like how I just bought a house and I'm getting my hands dirty with all these different things, picking up all these different skills, that's how I've been in my career. So I have a lot of skills. There's a lot of knowledge that I have just through my work ethic and always looking to learn and understand things, and I've been greatly rewarded for that. But it's still someone like myself, very motivated, aggressive, knowledgeable, great resume, great background. If I can be so vulnerable to running out of money, to worrying about how am I going to pay my rent, what hope does the average person have who's making 50 grand, 60 grand, 70 grand? Like, that tells us that there's something very wrong with our economic system, right? We have a side of the country that's so focused on entitlement programs and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, this is a country where someone like me, you know, that's a reality. Like, I don't think anyone who works nearly as hard as I do should ever, in a country this wealthy, should ever really have to worry about how are you going to pay your bills. Now, extreme things happen. You know, let's say you have a major medical issue, multiple surgeries, you're out of work for like 10 months or something. I mean, that's an extreme thing. But simply losing your job, right? Simply losing your job. I don't care that your industry fell apart or whatever. But if you have a lot of skills and you're, you know, someone, you know, very capable and dedicated, all this kind of stuff, you should not have to worry about that stuff, right? You should easily be able to go to another industry or do another job, even if it's a slight pay cut, but you should still be able to earn significant amount of money. But that's not the case. You make a lot of money if you get into a high income career, right? And as long as you stay in that bubble, you can be okay, right? But you lose your job, something happens in the industry, you're out of the bubble, now you're completely exposed. Now you're looking at, hey, let me go sell mops, like I did. Another time I went from 6 figures to working at a gym, greeting people, right? There's something greatly wrong with the system. But why I brought that up is because things are so bad that that's one of the big fundamental reasons for me purchasing the house. Because I didn't want to, I can't rely on our social safety net, right? And as a result, you know, I, you know, made the sacrifice to buy this home with the idea being that I would never have to worry about paying the rent because I have a place to live. So let's say in the future everything sorts out and I end up actually you know, buying a small house for myself somewhere else, and then I have this rental property with tenants in there. Something extreme happens with me, I lose my job and I'm selling mops again or something. I can give up my apartment, move into my own house, right? So now I don't have to pay rent, right? The mortgage is paid for by the tenants, so I can be comfortable on my own. But the thing about it, and this is the thing, you know, someone on the right, you know, a right-wing influencer would look at me and say, you know, that's what we're talking about, you know, being independent, put yourself by your bootstraps or whatever. Listen, man, if you were to hire me to do your paperwork, it would be a horrible experience. We all have our things that we're good at and things that we're bad at, right? Now, I'm the ex-military guy, I'm the hustler, I'm the grind guy, right? I love like extreme sports, I love motorcycles, right? So I'm just, that's how I'm wired. I'm just all over the place, right? So I can funnel all that energy into doing a lot. But what about people who aren't, like, that's not, like, the idea that everyone needs to be some kind of a, you know, grind king, hustle, whatever, like, that's ridiculous. You know, not everybody has that skill set. There's some people who, that's not in them. The fighter that's in me, the fight, and we're gonna get this done. You know, not everyone has that, right? Just like how, again, something as simple as paperwork, I'm just not good. Even like mailing stuff, I don't know what it is with me. If I'm gonna mail you something, you're probably never gonna get it, right? Doing repetitive tasks, I suck at it, right? That's why I lived like a slob for so many times, because it's just I struggle with that, right? Again, we all have our assets. Like, let's put it this way: imagine if the way that I'm able to make a lot of money was by me, you know, going around and lifting heavy weights every day, like carrying around 100-pound items, and I'm like bodybuilder. I'm all like super. I'm like, I'm a bodybuilder, right? Real strong guy. And I use my strength, right, my literal strength, to go around and carry heavy things, and I make a ton of money. And then imagine a conservative looking at me and saying, yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to be a hustler. You got to be aggressive. And these people, they're lazy. You look at somebody else who, they don't have the body type. They don't have the interest. That's not their thing, is to be a bodybuilder. They're thin. They're weak, right? And that's okay. You have different body types, different assets, right? So you're going to go and look at this person and say, the reason that they're struggling is because they suck, right? You could be a bodybuilder too and carry. No, man, right? I leverage my assets into things that I'm good at, into things that make me a lot of money, because there are things that I can make a lot of money of using my assets. If those things didn't exist, I would have a similar problem as other people do. But fortunately for me, things about my personality are very lucrative, right? Because again, that fast-paced whatever, the industry that I'm in is very fast-paced, very aggressive, and it's really matches with my personality, right? But what about people with other personalities? Like, we can't all be the same. So the point is that the idea that we should all have to super hustle. I'm not saying you don't work hard, right? But not on the level that I work, man. I mean, I started my career doing 16-hour days. That's my choice. I chose to do that. I really loved the work, and I got rewarded for it. But the idea that other people should have to do the exact same thing, right, for them not to be poor and struggling, is ridiculous. The stuff that I did should be what it takes perhaps to get the maximum reward, which I didn't get the maximum reward. I got a lot of reward, but not the maximum reward. That would make more sense, right? And for people who are not willing to go crazy like that, they'll work hard, they'll do their jobs. They should be able to live comfortably, right? You shouldn't have to go nuts just to live comfortably. And the idea that that should be the standard, that it's like you look at a bunch of hustlers, and you say, look, they made it. Look at this guy came from, look, I came from poverty, right? I'm the success story. Came from poverty, and look, I didn't wait. I didn't depend on government handouts. But again, it just so happened to be conveniently that my personality type, and it didn't just naturally fit. I had to match my personality type with these opportunities, right? But it just so happened that I had the right personality type, and there were opportunities that matched with it, and I also identified them, and then I merged the two, and that was my secret for success. But what happens if you don't have any natural abilities that match in that way? Should you have to be poor as a result? And because you're not willing to work 16-hour days like me, like you deserve to struggle and not be able to pay your rent? Like, what? I don't know, man. That don't make no sense to me. Jock is in the house. Good to see you, man. I've been out of work collectively 3 to 4 years in my life. I'm 52. I hate it. Wow. Yeah, man. At the moment, we have 4.2% unemployment. Nice. Denmark, right? You make more, you spend more, right? Exactly. So it's like the person who is making $300,000 could be more broke than a person making $50,000 easily. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand economics at all whatsoever. I mean, if you're making $300,000 a year, but you're spending $350,000 a year, you're broke. And it's hard for people to understand that. Like, but he makes $300,000. Yeah, but all that money is like spoken for. Now, in theory, you say, well, that's their choice. They could just stop spending stuff or whatever. But regardless, the point is that they're broke. The money they're making is not enough to sustain their lifestyle. And everyone could make cutbacks. Everyone can make cutbacks. It's not just the guy that's spending $350,000 and making $300,000. He's not the only one, right? So you watching this video, you can make cutbacks, right? So you might think you don't make enough money, but if you made major cutbacks, you might be able to live actually very comfortably, right? Anyway, Also structure is screwed to a friend from Argentina goes back to his parents' place, takes a small hiatus, and doesn't have the fear of homelessness, mental illness, and the lack of family structure. Has exacerbated it big time. Yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad. I mean, I took on a tremendous amount of stress right now with this house. Again, all because of fear of this stuff. And this is why, you know, I think I have I really have a really good understanding of like YouTubers, right? And part of the reason for the dishonesty, right? Because many of these YouTubers, the smaller ones, you know, they would be in my income bracket as well. Some of these big YouTubers, let's say like I don't know, like a Kyle Kalinske or something like that. I don't know exactly what money he makes, but so here's a guy who is making, you know, similar income to me, but they're making it from something even more volatile, right? Like, generally speaking, I couldn't just show up for work one day and like the office is gone. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works, right? A YouTuber could get up in the morning and then their whole channel is shut down and they may not be able to get it back. That's one of the fears they live under, right? Maybe YouTube falls apart or you know, the algorithm goes in a different direction. So, point being, just like me, you know, making all this money, but yet so fearful, you know, so I'm doing extreme stuff. I'm going to this risky deal with this house and put all my money into it and all this stress and drama, all of that, right? As a person who was already doing very well, all out of fear of like, you know, I'm doing good now, but what happens if things fall apart and then I'm left standing? That's somebody with a professional career, right? More traditional, right? I got a resume. In theory, there's a bunch of companies that want my skill set that I can apply to and work for. I leave one company, go to the next. Think about a YouTuber. A YouTuber is even more at risk. If YouTube falls apart, where do you go? Where are you going to apply to? You're going to apply to one of the other platforms? I mean, right? It seems very, very sort of a sketchy thing, and this is what they're doing for a living. So what I'm getting at is, even though you may look at them and say they're making a lot of money, they had it all made and everything like that, you may not realize that there is significant incentive for them to do a lot of dishonest things out of fear, right? So whereas I didn't do something dishonest, but I took on a big risk of the house and all that kind of stuff, all because of fear, I could say a YouTuber, because of fear, just selling their souls, and I'm just going to do anything that gets me clicks and anything to maximize engagement. That's my only focus. How can I get more views and more traffic? Because what happens if my channel falls apart, right? All of a sudden, no one's interested in what I have to say anymore. How am I going to pay my bills, right? So you have this. So it's never enough. It's never enough. Never enough. You got a bigger channel, bigger and bigger, more channel, more views, more money coming in. All that's like a potential safety net for if things go south. So I do a risky deal with the house and throw all my money into it. Barely squeeze through the deal to buy it. All trying to avoid, you know, this fear. YouTubers sell their soul, sell out their audience, put the country in danger, at risk, because of how they're warping the minds of their audience, all in a quest for survival of the fittest, right? They're worried about numero uno. They want to make sure they can eat, right? And again, you may get focused on they ain't got to worry about they got to eat because they make a lot of money. Yeah, they make a lot of money now, because again, look, just like how I went from 6 figures to selling mops, right? I went from 6 figures to working at a gym, right? These YouTubers, our reality that's got to be somewhere in their brain is they could go from 6 figures on YouTube with all these views and everything to one day they wake up and the channel's gone. right? So some of them are in this quest of like, they just want to maximize, maybe they're saving like crazy. They have this big pool of money and they just want how much money is enough money to weather what comes next. Let's say their channel gets shut down and they end up, you know, working at Walmart for like 5 years before they figure something else out. You know, will the money last? Right? What amount of money would allow a human to put their emotions aside and just be comfortable and be like, you know what? I have enough money. If YouTube doesn't work out, I'll be all right. I don't know, man. I can't think about what that figure might be. I could easily see them constantly moving the goalposts of like more, bigger channel, more subscribers, and it not just being pure vanity. Some of it might be fair, right? Just like my fear, why I did what I did, they have their fear as well. Because again, as vulnerable as I might be, with all the stuff I have going for me, can you imagine being a YouTuber right now? And that's how you pay the bills. That's how you eat. YouTube, this platform, where I had nobody viewing in the counter, where you had somebody's commenting. This platform, this is how you pay your bills? Man, I'll be so nervous. I'll be so nervous. So, I mean, fortunately, I would take a more honest approach. If I was a YouTuber, the stuff I'm doing right now with the house, I would probably be doing the same thing. Because, again, same fear. I would have probably done it earlier because I'd have been more fearful of, like, you know, what if? And all this is stemming from the lack of safety net we have in this country, while there's many people who think we have too much of a safety net. Too much of a safety net that a person, I don't know what I'm, probably top 5%, has to be so nervous and stressing out about, you know, what if I lose my job and I can't pay my bills? That's a country that has too much of a safety net? Really? Again, I said it before, I'll say it again. If I gotta worry about these problems, what about regular people? You're making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, and you got a family, you got kids. How does that work? How does that work? Right? I have passed well north of $100,000, and yet I have to have this major financial fear and insecurity. Multiple times watching my money run out really quick. I just had to take money out of my retirement account, which there wasn't much money in there, just to keep the house afloat. A guy who lives frugally, well below my means, right? I'm wearing Walmart shoes right now. Walmart pants. My whole outfit's Walmart, right? Don't do name brand. I don't wear jewelry. I haven't had cable since 2004. Never bought a new vehicle, right? When I had BMW money, I bought me a used Toyota Celica for $10,000, paid it off in 2 years. If somebody like that, most of my life has been cash. I avoided credit cards and debt, so anti-debt. I remember multiple times talking to the bank, and they would look at my account. They would, one, see how much I'm saving and be surprised how much is saved, but also be surprised by the savings rate. A lot of my paycheck would go into saving, and the banks, who look at people's accounts all the time, found that to be surprising. Right? That guy had to go sell mops or work in a gym and be running away from debt collectors and have my credit be destroyed. Something is very, very wrong in this system. And part of it is in that we have part of this country that would look at me and my success and say, well, hey, I did it, everybody else can do it. And not really, you know, sit and think about, wait a minute, why I'm like the poster child for the pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Born in a third world country, didn't come from money, worked my ass off. Like, I know hard work, right? I know hard work. I spent my 2 hours, I spent the whole day working on the house, but I spent 2 hours in the house. That was just me working on my trim sanding it down and cleaning up and scraping off grease off the oven. That's how I spent my Saturday, by myself. Previous to that, I was hedging, cutting the hedges. I was cutting out the weeds, working on the driveway. I'm sort of building a gravel driveway by hand. I literally bought half a ton of gravel. Look at my gravel. All that gravel, I had half a ton of gravel. This is what's left. You can barely see it back there. You see that right there? That's probably a quarter ton that's left. That half a ton of gravel that I got down to a quarter ton, I did that by hand. Right? That's way too close. Oh man. I did it by hand. I had a little bucket about this size, and with my back is not what it used to be. I made sure I stretched. I did all the stuff preventative. I made out okay. I feel a little tenderness going on the last couple of days because of that, probably. Also a lot of work around the house. But I'm with a small bucket and I'm boom, 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 boom. To one of my tenants said he actually complained because it got late. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and he was like, "Those gravel sounds loud as hell out there." I can't imagine, because I'm using a metal bucket and I'm scooping it up with all my might, and I'm just throwing all my energy out in the driveway. I am the poster child of what right-wing influencers would talk about, when they look at people who struggle and say, "You just need to work hard." And yet, for all my blood and sweat, although yes, I've definitely been rewarded for it. I've definitely had a good lifestyle as a result. But what do I have to show for it? I barely had any money in my retirement account, and right now I don't have any savings at this point. Right? And all it takes is me losing my job for me to be in serious trouble. I mean, because I live frugally, I could last very long. Like, I've lasted 6 months not working on my own savings. But then the thing is, whatever you save, you end up spending it all, right? And then sometimes what'll happen is you may not be able to get back to your same salary level right away. So I may end up taking a low-level job just to make ends meet, and then I slowly start to get the salary up. So it's kind of I go up fast, go down fast, go up fast, go down fast. If that is the experience, like, good luck to you trying to find somebody that works harder than me, right? Good luck. And if somebody like me has to deal with that kind of situation, then something's definitely very wrong, right? Anyway, this is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. But now it's time for me to go work on my what do you call it? My driveway, my trim. I got a lot of work ahead of me, so need to go do my stretches, hydrate, and then get it done. I did it. Everybody else can do it and more. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, it's crazy, man. A lot of my success is definitely a result of the hard work that I put in. But some things went in my favor. I was never a person with good luck, but at least some things were in my favor. Stable home. Like, what if I didn't have a stable home? Maybe that would have been the one thing that I wouldn't have been able to overcome. Stable home, and then also just my personality type happened to, again, be profitable. I always when I was young, understanding things. I had an engineering mindset. What if I didn't have those interests? What if I didn't have that personality type that gravitated towards these things? What if I was just, I had creative as well, but what if my main and only thing was just creative? I love art and whatever. Not that people can't make money doing that, but it's much harder. You know what I mean? So I could have worked really really hard all my life and never made more than 50, 60 grand because my thing is art, right? So although a lot of my success is my hard work, let's just say a lot of it is skiing uphill, and it's always been that way for me, right? It's never been just like a cakewalk, right? Anyway, I've said enough. Jock, thanks for joining in. Appreciate the yeah. From peak prosperity, who censors? You comment on the replay about that. I'm not sure what you're talking about the prosperity guy. All right, man. Let me get to work. Hustle, grind, don't stop. Let me not. Goodbye, guys. The grind don't stop. Rawr. You know what I'm talking about.